And today we are going to be reviewing the movie The Woman in the Yard. We saw the movie yesterday at our local movie theater, and we'll just get started. We'll go ahead and get it going. We'll start with you, Mr. Limping on Sunshine, as far as like your overall thoughts about the film, and then we'll move on to Mr. Carbon, then to myself. So, what did you think overall? Like, what was your overall like assessment of the film?
When I first saw it, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think very highly of it. But as I thought about it throughout the day and over the night, I'm like, all right, it was shot well, it had great scenery, and it had great setup. I mean, it's not the greatest movie I've seen, but it's not a bad movie. It's just good enough to keep your attention, if you get my meaning.
Hmm.
Um, there's things I start realizing things about the movie like a day later, like, oh, okay, this is when this happened, and this is when this happened, and this is when this happened. Um, I still think with her in the brace, I think she needs an Oscar because I can relate to her pain when she slipped on those stairs. But but other than that, man, it's not a bad movie. Not a bad movie at all.
All right, so we'll move on to Carbon. Overall, give us your overall assessment first.
I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, just overall, I mean, I can't go in detail. I don't know what to really tell you. I mean, overall, it's pretty good. Like, I felt the suspense parts did a pretty good job. It didn't really take too long to get kind of into like the mystery of the story. You know, it didn't spend too long worrying about who these characters are. You know, you spend about 20 minutes and you kind of just jump in to learn about the mystery of the lady in the garden, or the yard or whatnot. So I feel like I did a good job. It definitely kept my attention throughout the whole movie. I didn't really have like days off or get tired or whatever. And overall, the story is pretty interesting.
Okay. I have to say that I concur. I think that overall, I thought the movie was much better than what a lot of the other critics are saying that it is. I know a lot of people are saying they're not liking the movie, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a solid horror film. Um,
Oh,
there weren't.
I had to disagree with you. I don't think it was a horror film. I didn't feel it was a horror film. It was more suspense than horror to me, because the horror film you expect to be scared. I was more intrigued by this movie than scared by anything. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, we're grown men. There's gonna be very little that scares us now.
I
Um,
wouldn't say that.
so in that regard, I don't like. I'm not really judging it on the scariness too much because it's not much that really scares me anymore. I'm trying to get these layouts right here. So for me, I still consider it a horror flick. It's definitely more suspenseful than it is scary because of the way of the nature of it. Because she's sitting in this yard, and as it gets closer and closer to nighttime, she's getting closer and closer to the house or whatever. And that is very suspenseful. But there is some scenes in there that were genuinely creepy. I thought, even I don't think it was particularly scary, but I thought it was a solid horror flick. I don't see what the criticism is about. Like some of the people who I heard criticizing the movie, it almost seemed like they didn't even watch the movie. Because I thought it was a lot of interesting things going on. Again, I think the cinematography was great. The lighting was really good. The cuts and the angles and everything in the film I thought was really really well done. Acting was good. But speaking of that, let's move to the first category. What did you guys think overall of the acting? Beginning with you, Mr. Pegleg, or you change your name every show, so I can never remember what your name is. Limping
Just keep that
Sunshine.
man Pegleg. Just keep that Pegleg. He's Pegleg.
Uh,
Overall, what did you think
uh,
of the acting?
The little girl was terrible, but she was young, so she can get an excuse. The kid, the son, he irritated me more than anything. But the main actress and her husband, you know, I know the husband from other projects. Um, I forgot his name. His last name's Hornsby, and even though he's always plays like a soul singer or a disappointed dad, he knew his role in this one. Um, the lady, the main actress, I was sitting there looking at her like I said, she she played her part. She wasn't the worst, but she wasn't the best at the same time. Um, I can't really like smack too much of down about her role, but the antagonist of the story, no, at first I the antagonist was compelling because when you first realize what the antagonist is, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Versus just some generic monster sitting in the yard, if you get what I mean.
Okay. So I mean, overall, like, what you think of the acting?
I'll give it a 6 out
Okay.
of 10.
What about you, Mr. Carbon?
I feel like it was pretty good. I feel like probably the son did the best job in my opinion. Overall, you know, I feel like everybody did a good job. Everybody felt convincing to me. You know, yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. Everybody felt convincing to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Carbon. I thought everyone was convincing. I didn't see any. There was nothing about any of the acting that I thought was off. I didn't think the little girl was annoying. I actually thought she was really quite sweet, and she was actually very convincing as a child actor. I actually thought she was really good. So I disagree with you on that one. The young man, I thought he did a pretty good job. He played a teenager that was um, that was not unruly, but he was but he's testing his mom's patience. I thought he did a good job, doing that. Um, I'll say that I think that the lead actress, what's her name? Let's look her up real quick. Uh, the woman in the yard actress. Danielle Deadweiler, is that her name?
You should bring a picture.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's her.
Let's go to Google. I'm on Brave.
Yeah, you can't search a lot. Brave's meant to be more of a safety browser than a convenient browser. But you won't have to do with ads like you do in every other freaking stream.
The woman in the yard actress. Let's see. Yeah, Danielle Deadweiler. What a weird last name. I thought she did a really good job. I think she probably had the best acting. Because I thought she did a really good job transitioning from like depressed to loving mother to abusive mother to psychotic mother to a loving wife to great bitch. she did a good job. Like, she did all those roles really well. All of them were convincing, I thought. You know what I'm saying? In particular,
I guess hold on. Like I said,
in particular, there's one scene that I thought she really stood out, and that is the restaurant scene where they did the flashback where she's sitting in the restaurant with her husband, and they got the nice clothes on and whatnot, and she just has resting bitch face the entire. I mean, we all seen that face before. She did such a good job, I thought, channeling that inner bitch, because she really pulled that one off. And I thought it was a good contrast between the other aspects that she was playing inside the film. So I would have to say I think she was the best. I mean, I think everyone was good, from the lady that was playing the demon, from the kids to the husband, because it's not a big cast, you know what I'm saying? And most of the movie only takes place in one scene. in the house. I mean, there's a couple of flashbacks like in the car and then inside the restaurant that they were in. But for the most part, it takes place in one area. Um, but I thought the cast did really well. I was quite convinced by all the performances. Um, and I mean, to give props to the little girl too, because remember when the little girl was practicing her handwriting, and you know how like a little kid will like they'll do something and it's exciting to them, and then they'll show like their parents. Their parents were like, "Yeah, that's good, that's good." Like the way she was like, "Look, is that right? Is this it?" And she's excited about it. She did a good job. I thought it felt very natural. You know what I'm saying? And and the way the mother was responding to it, I thought felt very natural. You know, so I have to give, as far as the acting, man, I have to give it a solid 5 out of 5. I thought they did a good job. I thought everyone did a good job, and there was nothing about it that was off to me. Even the line that was in the trailer that we thought was kind of corny, "Today is day," it didn't come off as corny to me when I watched the film, because you got to see it, inflected in many different ways, and when you figure out why she was saying "today is the day," it lended itself. When you figure out the reason why, we'll have a spoiler section of this later on, but right now I won't do too many spoilers. But when you find out why she's saying "today is the day," it added a lot of gravitas towards it, and it made the line more palpable to me. Whereas when you heard it in the trailer, it was just kind of corny. But overall, man, I thought all the lines were delivered well. All the acting was well done. All right, let's move on to cinematography and special effects. We'll move to you, Mr. Limping on Sunshine.
I thought it was shot very well. And as y'all can clearly see from the shows, I'm not the person that sits there and look for like good aspects of everything. But when I thought and like reflected upon it, I was like, man, there are very, very good scenes in this movie. What was the budget for this movie? Does anybody know?
I can look it up real quick. Go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, like whoever shot it, like the angles they got, like to add from the adding of suspense just from moving a chair a couple feet. I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Versus all the flash and hoopla that you can put into a movie to make it like make things seem more suspenseful. And this only was shot for $12 million.
Yeah,
That's
it's not bad. Guess what,
That's not
Caleb?
bad.
Guess what,
Or
Caleb?
what?
This movie costs less to make than that shitty ass Batman movie.
Well, I mean, 3D is our animation is always gonna cost more than live action. It's easier to do live action than animation. Like, so let's be honest here.
I'm messing with you. Look, continue. Limping on Sunshine.
I will be back to the Almighty one next week. But the other thing I really liked about it was the fact that the use of darkness, like use of in shadow. It just shows that you don't need CGI and everything, just a well placed camera and patience and time can go far.
I'm pretty sure some of those shadows were CGI or.
I'm not talking about the visual. I'm not talking about the visual effects. I'm talking about when they're
okay, I see what you're saying.
The scene in the attic, that was just them spinning a flashlight around.
Yeah,
Things like that, little simple things. And shout out to practical effects, man. You don't need this to break the bank every time you want to just make something look good. And like I said, I look for things to hate on. I was really looking for something to really, really hate on. I'm not, and like I said, it's not the greatest I've ever seen, but the one scene when she finally met up with her husband, it did feel like she was walking into a haze, like so it was like cloud. She was floating, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. So visually and visual effects, the shadow was pretty cool. And I don't want to. Well, I can talk about it. the scene when the creature finally got into the house, like when with the sun coming down and you see the antagonist going into where they are. I'm like, and when you first see her, you realize what's going on. She's just unveiled herself, and now she's going to her target. That was dope. That was really dope to me. I was like, man, that really stuck out to me. Like
Mhm.
rather than having a silhouette of a person, they have some clothing showing that it's going up. That's dope. Like you're shooting light through a veil or something. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I know exactly you're talking about the scene where you see the side of the house and you see the
yeah.
sun shining through her lace and then like covering the house, almost like she's. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah,
Uh, but
yeah.
so on visually, I'll give it a 7, a solid 7, just because they made the most out of what they had.
Hmm. What about you, Carbon? What do you think of the cinematography and the special effects?
All the shots are pretty good. I especially like at the beginning where it does like that really wide shot and just shows just her versus the lady in the chair. And I
Hmm.
really like the shot when they was trying to run up the stairs and like the way the camera was following them and doing all that freaking twisting and turning was
Yeah,
pretty cool. They also did a lot of like angle shots. I forgot the name, but I remember I learned it in like what is it the art appreciation class where they do like the angle shot to kind of make you feel like uncomfortable, whatever. They did a lot of shots. I remember just learning at school, which was I was able to oh that's that one shot. I don't remember the names of them, but I know what the shot is. You know, so
yeah.
it's definitely cool seeing they use a lot of different types of shots. You know, and overall I thought the cinematography was pretty good, and I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that for it to be a limited location, they did a lot with that location. With getting interesting angles and playing with the layout of the house and stuff like that, and how they would block shots and stuff. I thought they did a really good job. And overall, man, I thought the cinematography was excellent because you know, essentially the demon lady. It looks like she's more powerful at night or whatever. Or well, I'll say this to kind of let the audience know the demon is getting closer into the house as it gets darker and darker, and as the sun gets lower on the horizon, the shadows get longer, and as the shadows get longer, her ability is to and the trailers kind of show that she can
She has like
she
shadow magic basically.
yeah, she can play with shadows and affect them. So like say if like a pot is casting a shadow, she can pick up the pot's shadow and actually throw the pot by throwing the pot's shadow. So it's things like that are really cool. But as she gets closer to the house, man, the way they did the lighting effects, they did a really good job. It's very dynamic. Again, for it to be a solitary location, they got a lot out of it just by doing interesting shots and playing with light and shadow, which really I thought worked well for the creepiness of the film. And that's the other thing I have to say. For a good portion of the film to take place in the daytime, I thought they did a good job with creating a creep factor. Uh, um, one shot in particular that comes to mind is when the young man or the teenage boy goes into the shed and the lady actually gets up, and they actually show her shadow through like the creaks and stuff of the light inside the in the in the shed. And that scene was probably one of the creepiest scenes because you didn't know what was going to happen. um and one thing I'll say this, we'll kind of get into spoilers alerts here. They did a lot of foreshadowing. For example, right? Remember when he's in the shed and he sees the lady in black's footsteps coming towards the entrance of the shed, and he takes the fire poker, and as soon as she's about to come around, he swings it at her, but then it turns out that it's his mom because it was his mom the entire time. You know what I'm
You're
saying?
already spoiling. Good lord, dude.
Well, I said that we're in the spoiler section now. You know what I'm saying? It was
We
his mom
barely
the
even talked
entire
about the movie
time.
and get to the spoiler section. Good lord, man.
I
We had like
literally
a
said,
random person watching.
I literally said we're in the spoiler section. We're in the spoiler section. Yeah. So yeah, as far as using cinematography and lighting and everything to tell a story, I thought they did a really good job. So what did you think? No, you already said your part,
Yeah,
right, Carb? All right. So
yeah.
now we're going to go to plot and story, and this is where we're really going to get into spoilers. And we'll start with you, limping on Sunshine.
Usually, I do not agree with you on most things, but Billy was a bitch.
Like I don't. What things do we disagree on that just so much? Like you said it a
oh,
couple of times.
oh,
Even even
you
you even said you even see it like that there's certain movies that we don't agree with. I think most movies we agree on. There's only like a few movies that we disagree on.
oh, I highly disagree with you on damn Spider-Man.
I mean that's like the only
Spider-Man
one you
3.
ever bring.
Spider-Man 3 was trash, but she's like the way she flipped from character to character. I mean, it was a gradual flip. It wasn't a she wasn't kind mom. She started off being depressed, then she tried to be motherly. Like, as a matter of fact, you could pick it out. All right. So when she was coming down the stairs, and she was when she was in bed, she was depressed. When she was coming down the stairs, she
Remember,
was
we're supposed
starting
to
to
be talking
liven
about
up.
the plot and story
Uh,
here.
oh, I am. So
Okay.
as far as like seeing the plot of them showing somebody go through the stages of whatever the hell she's going through, because I don't want to say depression, but
I would say it's
uh,
depression.
Yeah, it definitely is.
like I said, I don't really know what the hell she was going through, so I don't want to say she was depressed. They did a good job, and for as far as a plot of somebody showing somebody going through a mental illness, it was very, very good, very, very, very good. Because I really don't have any hangups about her acting. I mean,
We're talking about the plot and story, not our acting.
but and as far as the story, like for me, for the way they started it, like with her being the story of somebody going through something that they can't get over. That's what I got from this movie. Like it was never when I first saw it. I think you heard me in the theater. I was like, oh shit, another damn another damn Woe Is Me movie. And then I realized it's not a Woe Is Me movie. It's a be aware of your surroundings movie. If you get what I'm saying, like be aware of what's going on with you mentally, because there's some things like man, like I said, before the show started, you have to reflecting on it. The, the climax of the story in the attic when can I talk about what happened in the attic?
Yeah, because this is the plot and story, so this is a spoiler section.
Yeah. So when she's going to hug her daughter, and because that was the climax of the story to me, and then the subtle letdown when she goes back to she is reflecting on her husband, and then she realizes like, oh, this is messed up because everything is in reverse.
Okay, you're all over the place.
Uh,
You're all over the place.
I'm like,
Generally, what did you think of the plot and story? Like, give us some
I
some
fucking hated it. I fucking hated it. It was terrible. No, but if I had to give it on a scale, I would say it's about. I give it about average a 5. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it's enough to keep your attention.
Mhm. All right, Mr. Carbon, what did you think overall of the plot and story?
I thought the plot was good. I'm gonna kind of start from the beginning. They really started off. You really think she's like this like loving mother, and you slowly through the story start to see her degrade and break down, and start to just get angry at her kids. Like just even the beginning, you get to kind of see the state that our house is in. Just the state alone from the first 5 minutes, you kind of get to learn just a whole lot about the story. They don't have no dog food, or just the son's like doing all the work. He's cooking. She just starts off crying. The son keeps trying to call her from the bed. She just won't wake up or nothing.
To be fair, her husband had just got killed in a car accident. So I mean, she is depressed. Because I saw the same thing. I was like, man, why is the son doing all the motherly stuff for her? But I was like, okay, well, I mean, she's still, it wasn't that long ago that her husband died.
But isn't it in most cases usually the kid's more devastated than usually the parent in a situation like this?
No. Because I had a great aunt pass. I had a great uncle pass away, and her and my great uncle were together for a long time, and just the sheer loss of somebody kill you that you're that close to. So the kids, I lost my father a year and a half ago. So yeah, I'm hurt, but I see more pain than my mother, because once you're with somebody and rely on them for that length of time, that's for those who haven't been in love. You don't realize how much somebody can become your world, or you build a world with somebody. So I understand the son kind of getting over it, and the little girl saying, yeah, that's when she said, daddy would know what to do. But for a lot of women, if they're treating their man right, I'm not going to say that she was treating her man right, because she definitely wasn't in this movie. But when you depend on somebody,
but let's go back to Carbon though, because I'll let him finish up.
But overall, I mean, I felt at the beginning it did a really good job, and you get to the point where the lady shows up, and you're like, oh snap, who is this lady? And the way she kind of like, I like, they really humanize her character. She'd be like, who are you? I'm trying to help you out. And over time, like later in the story, she seems more aggressive to her, but at the beginning she seems more kind of human. And I really like how they at the beginning made her more like a normal character. You slowly see her degrade, and you learn what her mental situation is, how she's depressed, how she blames herself for killing her husband, and I mean she kind of did because of her, not accepting of the happy life that they had. But I mean, I kind of like the way that the story goes, especially with the son's progression too. He slowly becomes more rebellious over the story. He eventually's like, no, I need to figure who this lady is. If you're not going to protect, like, my little sister, I'm going to do it instead. I got to be the man of the household. Dad's gone. I got to do what I got to do. And I like what they did with his character too. Even though the little girl, I mean, she's a little girl. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot she could do. I mean, I guess she, being a kid, I guess I don't really know what to say about her. But I feel like both the mom and the son did a really good job, and the way they slowly told their story, and like you said, was they did some foreshadowing too. I feel they did a really good job on that, leading all the way up to the end. Where they finally got into the basement or whatever, and how it slowly shows that she is the one that caused all this.
No, they went to the attic. Like, they were in the attic.
Yeah, the attic. Yeah, it slowly implies that she caused all of it. Especially the moment she kind of grabbed her daughter, saying everything's gonna be okay, when it's really not. She just wants it all to end, and we know the way that she ends it. Overall, I thought the plot was really good. It definitely kept me engaged the whole time, and I feel like this is a pretty good way if you want to tell kind of a more mental illness story that kind of ends in a bad way. I feel like it was well written, not kind of just like wave it off at the end, So I feel like they did a good job kind of talking about mental illness in still in an interesting story way, not too burdening to the viewer or whatever. But I feel like it was an interesting enough story, and it still has an overall good message. You kind of got to take care of yourself. If you don't, you're going to let things go loose. And sometimes you should be happy with what you have, because it could always be worse. You achieve, especially what is supposedly the American dream that people dream of, and you just want to throw it away. Maybe you should think twice, if we're trying to throw it away, because throwing it away, it might make you lose more. And that's kind of, she threw it all away. And that's literally what the whole story is. She threw away what she had. Now, supposedly to most people in the world would be considered a happy life. You have a family, you have a running car, a dog, both the kids are happy. It seems that they were all well fed, all healthy and everything. They had the ideal scenario, and she still threw it away. But yeah, I'll go on to you though.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I think about the plot and story, of this film. It actually reminds me of a lot of another film that came out years ago called The Babadook. You guys ever seen that?
There's a little boy and his mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it.
Let me go ahead. Google. It's called The Babadook, and it has a similar theme, like the creature. God dang it! Man, I just want to go to Google.
No, you're brave. You can search on Google, bro. Just search it up, bro.
The themes inside the movie I thought were similar, because I remember watching or finishing the Babadook and realizing that the Babadook, or the creature that was inside the film that was tormenting the mom, was actually an allegory or a metaphor for her. What's that that mental illness when a mother doesn't want their kid.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, it was that. I think that's what it was a metaphor for, because her kid was like super annoying and loud and or whatnot, and it was just getting at her.
Yeah, you could see her slowly start to break, especially, we
Yeah.
forgot to talk about her throwing the cup and just starting to break stuff. Yeah, we didn't talk about the cup throwing. Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, well, that's why I think the Babadook and the Woman in the Yard have a very similar type of themes going on, because and this is spoiler alert, in the movie, right? There's a couple of foreshadowing things that I thought about later on. Remember when the little girl was practicing her handwriting and she kept writing certain words backwards, right?
Yeah, the R, the R,
Yeah,
R.
and then like later on, when the mother goes to like the nether realm or the shadow realm or the mirror realm or whatever you want to call it, she starts seeing all the words backwards. So it was like that was foreshadowing what was going to happen to her. So I thought that was really cool. But I thought that the way the movie progressed, like how they showed her deteriorating more and more into madness, I thought they did a really good job. In particular, and near the end of the movie, the language of the movie almost becomes very artsy fartsy, like it's very nebulous.
Right, yeah.
But if you pay attention, man, they're giving you clues. Like, for example, right, when they go into the attic and they're having their final kind of like throw down battle with the shadow lady or the demon lady or whatever. When you see the demon lady walking slower and slower towards the daughter, and the daughter has the flashlight, and the demon lady saying, I would never hurt you, I would never hurt you, and then she as she gets real close to her, she puts her hands on her, and they just kind of disappear. That was a metaphor saying that was a mother killing the daughter. Because
you're right, because then she like passed up for a minute. Because remember, it kind of flashed back to remember her stabbing her. Remember that one scene?
Yeah, because remember when the son is witnessing this, when he sees the demon lady, he's seeing his mother's shadow.
Yeah.
So it was his mother all along. That's why when you see the one scene when they're inside his room, and he has the window open, and then he gets mad and then the mother gets mad at the little girl for writing the words backwards, and she yells at him, and then she apologizes and hugs him, and they cut to that shot of the son's they cut to the shot of the son where he's like in the foreground. In the background, you see the mother hugging the daughter, and you just see the son's face like, okay, my mom is going crazy. Like, he has this look of
horror. Or
not
disbelief.
so much horror, but like
disbelief.
Not even disbelief. It was more like
the fuck is wrong with you?
It wasn't even that. It was more like he had anger for his mother, but he also was like, it was also like a look of like desperation. Like, what am I going to do? Like, this lady, she's unhinged, but she's still my mother, and we're stuck out here in the middle of nowhere. The electricity,
because the neighbors miles away, and they didn't.
Yeah,
have
the electricity
phones or
doesn't
anything
work.
yet.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but she's always pushing me. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those. That was the type of look that he had, like the look of like desperation, like what, like desperation and anger. But it was all foreshadowing. Like he didn't want to believe that his mother was that far gone. You know what I'm saying? And I think when the demon lady touches the little girl and they disappear, and you seeing like the flashlight click and flicker. You know what I'm saying? That's telling you like, look, the daughter is dying. She has died. The mother has killed the daughter. You know what I'm saying? And at the very end of the movie, and this is a spoiler alert. At the very end of the movie, right? It's nighttime. It almost seems like they've defeated the ghost lady or the black veiled lady, and it almost seems like the mother has finally gathered the strength to tell her children to leave, and she tells them, "Hey, you guys, you go to the next farm over. It's 2 miles away or whatever," and she's gonna kill herself. She's like, today's the day. Today's the day that I'm going to do it. This is what I've been, wanting to do ever since for a while, probably even before her husband died. So the demon, which is her, helps put the gun towards her head, right? And you never hear a bang, right? You just see her running out of the house. So you think, okay, she didn't go through with it. And then you see her kids running back. And at first when I watched the movie, I was like, man, this is bad editing. Like she just sent them off. Why are they running back? But then I realized, look, it's still nighttime. It's still nighttime, right? So they go back into the house. And as they go back to the house, the mother's like, yeah, everything's going to be all right now or whatever. And they pan over to this painting that she was doing. And the painting is of her, but like it's like almost like abstract. And then they pan down to the bottom right-hand corner of the painting and you see her signature. And the signature is written backwards, meaning they're almost like in hell. Like she killed both her children and they're stuck in this house and they're in this continuous loop. Because in one scene in the movie, right, at the beginning when the lady in the yard first shows up, when the mother goes out to like, kind of confront her, the lady is like, how did I get here? And the mother is like, you tell me, how'd you get here? You're on my property, basically, right? Well, later on in the film, they revisit that, and
Great, it does reveal the scenes, yeah.
There's
context.
Yeah, there's a scene where the mother is under the veil of the lady sitting in the yard, so she's saying, "How did I get here? Like, how did I get back into the? How am I sitting here in this position?" And then she slowly turns into the person that's going to kill her children. Look, I'm sorry, this movie is good and it's twisty. I don't see why people don't like it. It's an excellent film. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought the way they went about filming someone's depression and descent into insanity to the point where they're going to harm their loved ones. I thought they did a good job without actually having to be brutal or show a bunch of gore and stuff. They did a good job with that. I thought it was very poetic in many ways. The way they went about doing it. In fact, I will say this. I'm going to leave this to our political channel, but I'll just mention this. Kevin Samuels
Oh my God, bro.
has definitely been listened to. I'll just say that, and I think there's a lot to be said about pathology of Black motherhood, and that's all. I'll leave it at that. We'll leave that more to the political channel, but I'll just say that. But overall, man, I thought the plot and story were really well done. I like the twists and turns. I like the way they would call back to earlier things. I like the foreshadowing. You know what I'm saying? I like all the little hints in the beginning. I think you did it. You said it well, Caleb. That you saw her. You saw her trying to be a good mother. You know what I'm saying? But she was just too far gone. You know what I'm saying? Too much trauma had built up or whatever.
Well, they had another scene of her that she did harm to herself.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, when she was doing the stitches, the stitching, yeah.
Did that. Well, they had a couple scenes in there actually. Now that you said that, when she was pulling, maybe I'm just reaching, but when she was pulling the chain in the yard for the dog, and it took her so long, and then finally when you see the end of it, it's already it wasn't broken, it was like corroded. And then the last scene, well, final scene that when I realized, oh, this lady's gone. She's no longer with us. Is when the creatures start approaching the little girl, and if y'all remember, for she always had like I want to say a
You said the preacher?
creature.
Oh, creature. Okay.
Yeah. When she first showed up, like half her face was gone. Like I was like, okay, what happened to this lady's face? It
Yeah.
didn't explain. And then you realize at the end of the movie, both of the she was absorbed into the main actress, and they didn't have a bang, she's gone. They had a little subtle thing that showed that she unalived herself.
Yeah. That was really
So
cool too. When I saw that, when you saw the creature, the monster, and half her face is gone, and it's like, well, why does
yeah,
she look like that now? But because I think by the time they had got into the attic, everything inside the once they had gotten into the attic, that was all like the dream
a
world.
dream.
You know
It was
what I'm saying?
it was a fugue state because
Yeah.
you remember
Yeah.
after she they went and tried to find the little girl. They went down into the father's safe. They had to crawl through the safe, and when she got to the other side of the safe, that's when she was sitting with the husband, and she was sitting there realizing like I love this man or whatever the hell was going through her head. And then she started looking around, and that's when she realized, oh, this isn't real. This is a mirror world.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep.
So I'm sitting there like, okay, either she's gone insane or she's dead.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah. Basically, everything that led up to the point where she's going to kill herself, that had already started. She had already killed herself by the time they had gotten to the once they had gotten to the attic and the demon got in there. Everything after that is
Rap.
reality
Rap.
twisting and warping on itself. She had already done the deed. You know what I'm saying? That's why when her son's just sitting there looking at the demon going towards the girl, he's looking at his mother going crazy. You know what I'm saying? And she had probably already killed him. You know. So yeah, man, that the way they did that the end was I thought was really good. At first, I thought it was a little choppy. I was like, why are they doing that? But then when you see the stuff like where she goes through the mirror, I was like, okay, no, this is all like a demonic loop.
State.
Yeah, like a demonic loop. Like she's in this demonic loop. Like she's literally in hell with her kids. It's crazy. You know.
Well, no. At first, there was they kept on there's another clue, and it was real subtle.
Mm.
But I thought something was just wrong with the screen at the movie theater. But
Yeah.
every 30 minutes or so, there would be like white patches.
I noticed
Like,
that. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
like, is the theater just that shitty? Like,
Yeah, I
then
know.
I realized
They were doing the
Yeah.
whole
a reality breaking thing. Like she wasn't like,
well, it was like what's the movie called? Fight Club, where you
yeah,
just see little hints of Tyler Durden.
yeah.
You know
And
what I'm
it
saying?
kept on doing that. And I'm like, am
Yeah,
I
they were
going
doing that
crazy?
thing. The movie was good.
So
I
I'm
don't
like,
get why people didn't like it. It was really good. It was really good.
because hold on, and not to insult any of our viewers out there, people are just not smart enough to sit down and analyze a movie anymore. Let's just call it what it is. There's a lot of dumbass people out there. Like sometimes you gotta sit there and revisit things in your mind, like, oh, that's what that meant, and things like that. I sat there like, man, the whole thing with the dog. Like, there's two things. One, like the dog was actually tying the family together. Like, you remember everybody like, where's Charlie? Where's Charlie? Where's
Yeah.
Charlie? And finally, when she's pulled the chain and the dog is gone, like, oh, Charlie is dead.
So
And
what
then all the
happened? So what exactly happened to Charlie? I mean, we
He
know the mother.
starved. I'm
We
pretty
know
sure he
the.
starved. I'm
Is that
pretty
what
sure.
you think he
I
starved?
think he starved. Yeah.
Because we know the mother
Because-
probably has something.
And the
to do with
chickens
it.
definitely got killed. You know. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but we know because the mother is the demon, so we know the mother killed the chickens and Charlie. But what happened to the body? I mean,
uh, I don't know, but if I had to guess, Charlie's beneath that wrecked truck. Charlie is no longer left of the limit. Like this, and there's two things that really stuck out to me about it. Like Once I realized that she unalived herself out in the barn, and when like she walks out to the kids and she hugs them and they walk into the building, and at first I was like, oh, what's this cliche ass shit? They're gonna cut the lights on and they're gonna walk in the house and everything's gonna pretend to be all right. And then I was like, no, like when they walked in the house and the lights cut on, I'm like, oh no, that's the end. That's the end of her story. That's her entering her afterlife right there. When
Yeah.
the lights cut on in the house, and I'm like, okay, that's the end of her and the end of them kids. So
Yeah, and
yep.
that part was sad. The fact that the kids died too. But I think it shows you what depression can do, and it can get to that level. If not treated right. What's up,
Well,
Integrity 101?
What?
There's a comment in the chat.
well, are you the only one that can see the chat?
No, we can look at it too.
I don't see it.
No, just look at the comments tab, man. There's a private chat and comments tab underneath the sign up for free and log in.
No, shit, I'm not doing all that bullshit. All right.
Bro, just click a button, bro. What are you talking about?
It's on the side. It says comments.
I'm not doing all that
Look at it,
bullshit.
saying in front of our
I'm
viewer.
not, I'm not doing all that bullshit.
You gotta make our only viewer leave, Mickey. You're acting stupid, bro.
Oh man.
All right, let's move on to final thoughts. So, Limping on Sunshine, like, give us your final rating.
I st-
Out of 5 bulbs,
oh no, we
to give it.
Lucent Bulbs. I still got to do it. Give it a 2.5. So- But it's good enough for the start a conversation. I know it's a one and done type of movie, but if they could find some way to build upon what they started, I can see a good franchise out of it. So, matter of fact, I'll upgrade it. I'll give it 3. I'll give it 3 bulbs.
3 bulbs out of 5. All right, moving on to Carbon.
Me personally, I feel guys got to get like a 5. Like as far as stories that go telling like a darker story that kind of end badly, talk about a game over or whatever. Like this is one of the better stories I've seen that kind of talks about it. It doesn't really joke about anything or glaze over anything. It really shows what can happen if you go to the extreme levels. So I feel like it's a good story to be like, this is what happened if you can't control it. You let yourself get out of control. You're gonna hurt the people you love. And it's like you're just gonna hurt people. So
Yeah,
overall,
I give it a 4, man. I give it a 4 out of 5. I thought this. The only reason why I don't give it a full 5 because I don't think it was particularly scary. And it has some creepy stuff in it, but it overall it wasn't like really creepy. In fact, I think movies like The Babadook are creepier. But just I like the execution. I thought they did a good job executing the narrative and fleshing it out well and having a really good ending. I thought the ending was solid. Because it made you think. You start thinking and you start going back like, oh, that's what this means. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what happened there. And it's probably still more that I missed. Because
Well, this is one of rare movies I would actually like to see a director's cut.
Yeah.
This is one of rare movies because usually I don't care. I can see analyze things for myself. But suspenseful movies, dramatic suspense movies, like okay, this is where they're going with this, and this is where they're going with that. I mean, it's good to have conversations about it, but when you see somebody's vision and they hear in their own words, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
And
overall,
Carbon,
man, I thought this was an excellent movie. I don't get some of the negative criticisms about it. I thought it was a good horror flick, and it was actually better than a lot of the horror flicks that I've seen recently. So yeah, solid 4 out of 5 for me, man. I thought it was good. Matter of fact, I'd like to see it again. I don't know if I'll see it again in the theater. When it comes out on streaming, I'll probably watch it again just to kind of see if I miss anything. Because I still want to know what happened to Charlie. I want to see more about where exactly maybe she, had, because it's like almost like when you're watching a movie. Now that I think about it, what was real and what wasn't real, or what was reality like, or was she dead the entire time?
I'm thinking she was gone the whole entire time.
Yeah, it's starting to seem like that, right?
Yeah, like she's like in an infinite loop. That's what I'm thinking.
Now that would be interesting. That would be interesting to see if she's in Infinite Loop or not. If they decide to move on or do a sequel somehow for this movie, like, but that's also a bad move because they'll
That ruined the
overextend themselves. Yeah, would ruin the story.
I can see how they could make a sequel from it. But it would be almost like the movie Smile,
Yeah,
where
they shouldn't do that, bro, man. Oh my god,
where she becomes like a depression demon. You know. You know what another movie this kind of reminds me of? There's a movie that came out I think in 2004
The Darkness.
called Darkness. I call it the forgotten cosmic horror flick. But I think that the ending for this movie and the ending for The Woman in the Yard kind of remind me of each other. Like it's similar. It's similar. If you've never seen Darkness, at the very end of it, this house was specially built to be like a gateway to hell, but you had to like sacrifice, I think it was like 13 children or something like that, and they were going to they had done the ritual like way back in the 70s, but one of the kids escaped, so the ritual wasn't complete. So the portal wasn't completely open. It was only like partially open. But long story short, the kid that escaped eventually lived back in the house because like his memories and stuff were gone or whatever. He goes back and lives in the house, and he's killed as an adult. So that way the portal is completely open, and it happens at the same time as this eclipse is happening. And the guy's children, they're trying to get out of the house after the ritual is completed, and they do get out, or you think they get out, and they get in this car with the girl's boyfriend. And as they're in the car, you think they're gonna escape and everything's gonna be, all hunky dory. And you see you see the boyfriend driving, and you just see like this this blank look on his face, and like the girl says, "We'll be all right," and he's like, "No." And as he says no, they drive into the darkness of this tunnel, meaning they never left the house. Because what they say in the movie is that the darkness plays tricks on you. It's pretty, like, I remember when first seeing the movie in theaters and thinking it was a shit movie because it came around the same time as like the movie like The Ring came out, and it didn't have all the jump scares like The Ring. But when I watched it again on DVD, I appreciate it more and more for what they did. It was truly a cosmic horror type of flick. Yeah.
Well, let me get you guys' opinion. What would you think is more frightening? What can transpire in your own head, or something that you know?
Who is he? Is that you? Is that you in the chat? Limping on Sunshine?
I don't know.
The almighty one? That's definitely you.
That's definitely him, bro. Man, what the hell is wrong with you? Would you really just come in the comment when you talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Stop being weird, bro. What's wrong with you, bro?
Go ahead, Dimitri.
You're the last person I want to hear about being weird. But
you got
but
go ahead.
What you say?
What are you talking about?
I find psychological things more frightening than cosmic horror, things like that, creature features anymore, because that's something that can really affect you. Like, any of us can go through such a traumatic experience that we snap. And I'm sorry, after I realized what exactly was going on with this lady. I'm like, that can literally happen to any of us. Like you said in The Killing Joke, all it takes is one bad day, right?
I don't know. I think a lot led up to her psychotic break. I don't think it was just one thing. Well, because you gotta remember, because the way they present the movie is almost like you would think that these things are happening because her husband died. But then when they do that flashback when they were in the restaurant and you see, okay, she's always been unhappy and there's no pleasing her. That's why her husband, shout out to her husband, because her husband was like, there's no pleasing her. No matter what I do. Something, and then she wants to basically she wants to divorce and take his children away. And it's just like, dude, that face she had when she was in a restaurant, man, that was good acting.
Like the scene where he's like, you could tell that he couldn't please her when he said, the kids are happy, you're happy. We're gonna make sure the yard has all them flowers you like and all that. She says, I can't work. It was like she was looking for a problem. Like, what?
Yeah, because when they were in the city, she wasn't happy.
Yeah,
that's why he was like, well, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't, and we can't keep moving. It's too expensive for us to keep moving around all the time.
Yeah, and I see what he was trying to do. He was trying to have a project with that house. He was trying to have a project where, hey, we can build this together as a family. But she didn't even want that. And then you want to get sad over something you did? And then she told the kid, then she was lying to the kid.
That's why I like the fact that it didn't end with happily, because I think this is a good way to show that there's consequences to your actions. You can't just make a whole bunch of bad decisions and be totally selfish and narcissistic and expect a happy ending. I think this is a good lesson. I think a lot of women should watch this. You know what I'm saying? Be happy with what you got sometimes. Green grass isn't always greener. And like you said, Carbon Maggie, she had the life. She had the life.
Yeah, she had the most ideal life, especially if they live. I don't know if they live in America, but it looks like they did. So if they live in America, that was technically the American dream.
Hold on.
I will say though, some people say depression was some forms of depression is a disease. So if she has a disease, she probably just needed some help. So that being said,
sure, mental illnesses are diseases. I mean, I don't know if not all mental illnesses can even be cured. I don't think it counts as a disease. Can't diseases be cured?
Well, I don't know. Some of it you could probably use medication. Some of it's probably just therapy. She probably needs therapy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that completely cures them. I think it just gives solutions how to cope with it.
I'll give you Carbon for that on that. Like, there's no curing something. If people are gonna be on antidepressants, there's no just getting off of them one day and saying, "Hey, it's all good." It's not a take a pop a pill and you're done. You're on it for the rest of your life. If you're manic, you're going to be manic for the rest of your life. Now, this movie is a lot deeper than it seemed at the beginning.
It is. It really is. Yeah. All right. I think that kind of concludes. I think we've pretty much said everything that we need to say about it. So that will be the review section of this episode.
Lucent Troupe Studio.